the Sustainability Management Master's Program, you're answering one simple question. Do you care about your future generation? If you care about your kids, their grandkids, then you care about sustainability. And a sustainability manager is someone who has the tools to make people understand how they can contribute towards developing a sustainable world. We have both part-time and full-time students. Our curriculum is 30 hours. Instead of thesis, we have a research project course and a seminar course which provides them with the kind of research background they will need to be successful in their job. But at the same time, sustainability is not always everything about environment. It also relates to the business. They will take a sustainable business strategies course. They will take a project management course. Most of these courses are going to be taught by industry people, the people who are doing sustainability on a daily basis as a part of their job. Any organization that has a large number of employees and has a physical infrastructure, they will have to have a sustainability office. If you have the passion to develop and maintain a sustainable world, come to us and we will help you shape your passion into a career which will create an impact.
The Stevens Institute of Technology is proud to present the Hugo New Corporation Sustainability Seminar Series, brought to you by Brown and Codwell, Geocetic Consultants, H2M Architect and Engineers, BEM Systems, and Catalyst Group.
But thank you again so much for having me on this, program of yours. It's great to be included with such, strong leaders in the 30 under 30 green cohort. And like Professor Zakar said, I'll be going through a little bit general information on what we do in our MetLife sustainability program, but with a specific focus that I'll get to towards the end of my presentation on really how we've been continuing to engage employees as well as other stakeholders through COVID-19 and this pandemic, where many of our stakeholders are, dealing with a variety of challenges and issues, as well as working virtually, many people for the first time. So I'll actually kind of start my presentation today with kind of a thought around COVID-19 of why is sustainability and environmental stewardship so important, especially for corporations. And I think thinking about it in this lens of the pandemic is really important, because climate change is one of the biggest risk multipliers that there are, out there and in our future. I don't really have to tell all of you this, you study this every day, but we know that climate has a huge impact on migration, on our food systems, on our water systems, on where we can live. It just impacts so many things, and it'll impact our economy and really kind of every aspect of our future going forward if we don't take the right mitigation approaches. So I thought this was a really interesting study that was done actually just this May. Over 700 experts were surveyed around the globe from 70 countries, and they were asked to kind of rank what the most urgent sustainability development kind of challenges were, and climate change was the number one. And if you see on this list, there's a lot of other kind of interconnected issues at play, that do relate to the environment and climate as a whole. And this same study kind of looks at it from the opportunity lens as well. So we know that climate is a risk, but it's obviously also a huge opportunity for companies to become, ready for a new market and a new future. If companies are able to adapt and really make environmental sustainability core to their business, they're going to be more resilient. So, again, on this list of a variety of factors, environmental sustainability was considered, the biggest opportunity to strengthen resilience. And we think about it too as a way to attract and retain employees and get new talent. If you're really integrating climate into your core business, you're going to attract a new customer base as well. A company like MetLife really needs to think about how to make something like insurance interesting to millennials and Gen Z, and climate's one of those ways that they could appeal. So thinking about climate as both a risk and an opportunity is really important for large corporates to begin to really institutionalize. And then, beyond just the real business and critical society needs that climate is posing, our stakeholders also want it. So our investors, our customers, government agencies, there's all of these different groups that we are thinking about on a daily basis that want to know how MetLife is performing in sustainability, and especially around environmental and climate stewardship. So I'm sure you recognize a lot of the logos on this page, but just kind of a representation of all of these different community members that are asking companies like MetLife to do more in the space of sustainability. A little bit further on this kind of topic, expectations are rising. You can't be silent when it comes to your stance on climate issues anymore. You're expected to have environmental policies in place. You're expected to be disclosing your greenhouse gas emissions, setting targets. And this interest is coming across the board. Huge institutional investors like BlackRock, State Street have come out and, called climate change a material risk to companies' futures. There's a number of sustainability benchmarks, rankings, indices that give MetLife a score along with, every other big company out there. And if you're not scoring well, that's going to hurt our reputation. It could also hurt, who decides to invest in us. And we get a number of requests each year that just seems to kind of go up and up each year from our customers and our suppliers. And there's also some regulations that are coming through the pipeline. There's certain climate risks that we're required to disclose through organizations like the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. And there's the competitive aspect as well. If peers are doing this, you got to be keeping up. You have to differentiate yourself in the space. And so this is just kind of to show you that climate is really not a singular issue. It touches kind of everything that we do as a company and all of our stakeholder groups. And this is why it's so important to communicate with those stakeholders what we are doing. MetLife does that through a number of ways. These are all kind of external mechanisms that we're using currently to share our progress and share our story. We have a sustainability site that has various components to it. We've got a digital and a PDF version of our annual sustainability report that we disclose each year, our key stories and our metrics. But we also have more live and up-to-date information through things like our News and Insights Hub, our ESG data center. And if any of you are looking for more information on MetLife sustainability programs, I do encourage you to go to metlife.com/sustainability to find this information. And of course, social media. We have other reports that we do each year, like the CDP. That's why this is so important, is because our stakeholders are asking for it. So what is sustainability at MetLife, and really what are we doing? Well, number one, we define sustainability really as part of our purpose at MetLife. Our purpose statement is always with you, building a more confident future. MetLife's been a company for over 150 years. And as an insurance company, we've always been about mitigating risks and really about helping customers get through hard times in their lives. We obviously sell life insurance, so being there for family members when a family member passes away and providing that financial support. But we also now have auto, home insurance. We're a benefits provider. So we're helping people kind of overcome a variety of challenges in their everyday lives. And so that's really our core business, and sustainability plays a huge role in that. And we really define sustainability as all the good that we are doing in the world. So we separate it into these 5 pillars that are on the screen here. So, ensuring confidence for our customers. How can we support our customers kind of at all moments and touch points in their life? And how can we incorporate, environmental and ESG factors into those products and services that we are providing? Strengthening our workforce, so being there for our employees, really focusing on things like wellness, mental health, creating value as an investor. We know that our investments play a huge role in fueling the economy, and we need to use our finance for good. Empowering our communities through volunteerism, philanthropy, and of course protecting our environment. This is just a couple more highlights on each of those pillars. I could talk about each one of these for probably a full presentation. Really, today we're going to be focusing on protecting the environment, but some of these key metrics show what we are doing across each of these pillars. Especially important to note are some of the work that we've been doing to support our employees and our customers and our communities through the pandemic. Our foundation committed $25 million to pandemic relief and recovery, and that is focused globally and is focused on short-term immediate relief as well as longer-term recovery efforts. We've also taken a lot of action with our products to extend grace periods and have more flexibility, as well as offering up some free services around financial planning to our customer base. And then, kind of as a whole, through our investments, through our workforce efforts, through our customer efforts, we've actually given about $250 million worth of value so far towards COVID-19 relief. We're also very committed to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We are a member of the UN Global Compact and a number of other UN programs like the Global Innovation Coalition for Change and other kind of women and diversity metric programs. And while we think that all of the SDGs are extremely important to have the most impact, we've really narrowed our focus on 5 goals, and those are the ones that you see on the screen right now, which are good health and well-being, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, reduce inequalities, and climate action. And through kind of all of our lines of business and all of our regions, we're taking action to try to support the Sustainable Development Goals. So jumping into our more specific environmental stewardship programs. So like I said, we define sustainability as a whole. It's kind of all the good that we're doing in the world. We have those 5 pillars, and environmental stewardship is one of those pillars. Within what we are doing for environmental stewardship, there's also a number of work streams and focus areas. One of our most longstanding focus areas has been our corporate real estate portfolio. MetLife has over 1,000 offices around the world in 40 plus countries. And so it's been a huge focus of ours for many, many years to reduce energy use, reduce waste, reduce water, all those traditional, carbon and resource focused reduction programs. We've got, LEED certified offices, Energy Star certified offices. We're looking into wellness certifications. There's a lot we do in that space. Investments I mentioned a little bit, but we have, again, a long-standing history of green investments. As of year-end 2019, MetLife had over $50 billion in responsible investments, including over $18 billion in green investments in, renewable energy infrastructure, green buildings, and other programs and projects. Employee engagement, which I'm going to talk about a lot today, but like Professor Schaefer mentioned, we do engage around 10,000 employees each year on environmental topics. And we have an extensive supply chain sustainability program as well. We work with over 130 of our top suppliers that really, make up the bulk of our supply chain. And we work with them collaboratively to achieve our joint environmental goals and collect their greenhouse gas emission data, their climate risk data, and have a number of kind of partnerships and collaboration opportunities that we push through that program. And then on the right hand of the screen, you can just see some of our environmental priorities that you can find in our environmental policy and our annual reporting. These are just a couple of key highlights across this variety of programs. I've touched on a number of them, but really, this is only a small snippet of the work we are doing. I think that's what's kind of exciting about being involved in environmental stewardship programs is you touch upon a lot of different areas of corporate impact. A couple highlights from our offices. We have a free electric vehicle charging program. We've got over 86 car charging stations at our U.S. offices. We've got over 22 LEED certified buildings. We recently have started pursuing Fitwell, which is a health and well-being certification program. And we're doing a lot with our waste diversion efforts. We have bag of house composting. We're doing food donation programs, a lot of acid source reduction to reduce our food waste. In the investments area, we are a member of PRI, which is the Principles for Responsible Investments. We've got a significant ESG policy. And just this year, we issued our first green bond. Again, I'll get more into employee engagement, but we have office green teams. We have an annual EcoChallenge. We have a lot of fun programs that we do in that space. We're involved in a lot of external and industry groups. And, luckily we've been recognized a lot for the work that we have done to date. We've gotten, leadership scores on CDP for the past 4 or 5 years. The past 2 years, we were recognized as one of Energy Star's Partners of the Year. We are always, for the past 4 or 5 years, on the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. So, we're being recognized for our work, which is great. And this year was a really big year for us because we both achieved our old goals and have set new climate goals. So here you can see we had set in 2015 4 global climate goals. It was to reduce energy by 10% globally by 2020, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 10% by 2020, have 100 of our suppliers reporting emissions and reduction activities, and to achieve carbon neutrality each year. And we actually achieved these all by the end of 2019 and really exceeded most of these goals. And I'll share a little bit of highlights there. So by year end 2019, we had actually tripled our energy reduction goal. We had reduced by 33% since 2012, 27% reduction in emissions, and we did meet our goal of engaging 100 plus suppliers as well. And in 2016, we were actually the first carbon neutral based US insurance company. Some of our peers have taken action on that since, but we like to claim we stuck our claim in the ground that we were the first to do so. And MetLife is carbon neutral for our global operations. So for all of our owned and leased offices, for our employee business travel, and for our vehicle fleet. So we are doing the best we can each year to reduce our emissions across each of those categories. And then for those that we're not able to reduce, we do purchase carbon offsets from third-party verified carbon offset projects that really do align with the UN SDGs. And so since we achieved our old goals, we started to think, bigger. What more can we do? What new areas can we embrace? And we actually set 11 new long-term environmental goals this September. This was a long process to getting to these goals. We did over a year-long kind of stakeholder engagement approach, both internally and externally. We had a whole working group. We conducted interviews, focus groups, and really found through each of our regions and through each of our businesses what environmental issues and opportunities resonated best with them. And through this kind of long, iterative collaborative process, we landed on 11 different environmental goals. And these were really focused on 3 different categories. And I think what was really exciting for us is, one, that these are long-term. MetLife has never had goals that went beyond 5 years before. So this really commits us to, the next 10 years of our future will be, dedicated to these priorities. Secondly, we're really proud that they go beyond our operations. You'll see here that we have, 4 goals that are really looking at our operations, kind of those traditional measures of engaging our offices and supply chain and reducing emissions. But then we also developed an additional 7 goals that are focused on our communities, and as well as our solutions, which are really focused on our customers and our products and services. So you'll see, you can read into all of these goals. There's more information on our website, but we're committing to some kind of science-based greenhouse gas emissions reductions. But we're also committing to plant 5 million trees. We're committing millions of dollars to products and solutions that'll help the climate crisis. We're committing to originate $20 billion of new green investments. So we're really committing across our entire global operation to drive climate solutions. And these are just a couple examples of how we plan to achieve these goals. We have a lot of road mapping and different exercises to go through over the next several months. But we've got a lot of ideas around how we're going to achieve some of these big long-term goals. So we're gonna, in that resilient operations category, we're really going to continue to reduce energy, implement energy efficiency projects like LED lighting and HVAC upgrades. We're looking into electrifying our vehicle fleet. We're going to further promote policies and regulations to reduce our employee business travel. I think COVID-19 has showed us that is very doable. We can all collaborate virtually, as well as things like greater reduction of plastic across our global offices. So when it comes to our communities, we're really looking at all those different stakeholders I talked about. So what can we do with our employees? More volunteer projects, tree planting, cleanups. engaging our customers in things like tree planting and community volunteerism, maybe doing a competition or a challenge with customers, making sure all of our corporate conferences and town halls and trainings have a sustainability component, working with schools. I think there's just a lot that we can do, and we're really excited about this next chapter of engagement. And then in the solutions category, like I said, really looking at our investments, really looking at our products and services. What can we do with our insurance products to promote, climate resiliency? And even looking at things like collaboration with academia on thought leadership or research around environmental issues. And so with all of that, this is kind of where we are, where we've been. And so I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive on one of our stakeholder groups, which is our employees. Talk a little bit about that program, our Green Impact, and really how we've had to pivot in this COVID-19 world to still make sure that we are educating and empowering employees to reduce their own carbon footprint at home and in their communities when there's a lot of other competing priorities. So for a little bit of background on this program, why we think employee engagement is so important at MetLife is because we have almost 50,000 employees, and we're not a manufacturing company. So we can only do so much, prior to our product delivery. We don't have ways to reduce our use of materials in our products. We can't reduce packaging in our products because that doesn't exist. It's not a physical product. But where we can make a humongous difference is in the people that we reach. So, 50,000 employees, that's a large reach of people. They have their own networks, they have their own communities, and we can really empower them to make a difference, in the office, but also beyond the office. So we developed this program back in 2015, really started with a couple of green teams, Earth Day events here and there. But we wanted to go bigger, and we wanted to really be able to engage people no matter where they were. If they were a virtual employee, if they were in a small retail office somewhere, and we knew we couldn't do that with green teams alone. As much as we have great champions and great in-person activities, we needed to do more. So back in 2015, 2016, we started building out a much broader scope of engagement. We developed an online community, we developed speaker series, we developed challenges, and ever since then, the program's just really grown. And like I said, in 2019, we actually engaged over 10,000 people. We had over 9,000 people involved in Earth Day activities. We had 1,000+ hours of volunteerism. We had our annual EcoChallenge, and we've really created this incredible community of employees that just want to do more than their everyday job. They want to do something that's passionate, that they care about, and I think a lot of people connect environmental engagement to their futures and to their children, and they really see that as having a huge impact on the future. So we have this great network now of champions that want to help us achieve our environmental goals, and they also want to help their communities. So these are just some kind of fun pictures of some of the events that we've done. We have the top left corner, we have some beehives on our campus in North Carolina. Employees are able to get involved each year, take tours of the hives, help in the honey extraction process. A lot of fun things there. We've got a couple pictures here of park cleanups, litter cleanups, tree plantings, we've got this great force of employee volunteerism. We've developed training programs. The MetLife Environmental Sustainability Champion certification is one of those examples. It's kind of a bite-sized learning course where employees take, 5 to 10 minute trainings at a time, learn about sustainability, and get various kind of levels of certification as they go through the program. We kind of talk about it as a intro to sustainability 101 course at MetLife, where they can get all the basics they know to take our programs to the next level. Teach them things like, simple actions that they can take at their office that will lead to pretty significant reductions for us in things like energy and waste. We have like I was saying, we have an internal platform, and we use our communications tools to really reach these audiences through a number of ways. On our community website, we've got tips of the week. We have pictures, we have blogs, we have a newsletter that's monthly that kind of rounds up some of the top stories around the world. We do a speaker series that we record and post on our little internal MetLife YouTube, and we have kind of internal social media channels as well where we share tips and resources on an ongoing basis. So luckily, we already had a lot of the infrastructure built out to have our programs be virtual, because we knew from the onset of this program that we weren't going to be doing everything in person. But of course, things like on-site volunteerism, our annual Earth Day celebrations, a lot of that stuff was in person. And a lot of the ways that we recruited employees to participate in this program was through direct employee-to-employee conversations, at the cafeteria or while getting coffee, encourage your employees to do environmentally friendly actions. And so there was a number of ways that we did have to adapt these programs to make sure we were still reaching everyone that we wanted to reach. And we haven't done our numbers yet. I don't think this year is probably 10,000 employees involved, but we still maintained a large and active community, which has been very impressive considering all of the challenges that this year has posed for us. The one way we really adapted was that we really leaned on our nonprofit partnerships around the world. We work with some really innovative teams and partners, and I've been so thankful for kind of the creativity that they've come up with throughout this pandemic. If you remember those beehives I showed, obviously we didn't have employees this year going out to the beehives, but our partners, Bee Downtown, developed a whole microsite where employees could get videos of the bees, they get resources, and we actually did a whole campaign where we did virtual honey tastings with employees. So like a wine tasting, we sent employees little boxes of a variety of honeys, some informational materials, an apple, crackers, and our friends at Bee Downtown hosted Zoom meetings where they really walked small groups of employees through this experience. And it was really interesting. I encourage everyone to go out and try different honeys because I had no idea that they really tasted that different, and trust me, they do. That was one, kind of really fun way that we reiterated, the importance of biodiversity and the importance of bees, but it was really kind of just a fun networking opportunity for employees to get their minds off of everyday work and stress. On the top right, the picture of all the Zoom screens, this was with one of our nonprofit partners, EcoRise. And EcoRise is a nonprofit focused on bringing environmental education to K through 12 students. They do design thinking projects, and MetLife Foundation gives grants to EcoRise so that these programs can happen. and that these students can actually take their projects and implement them at their schools. So many of the students come up with things like organic gardens that they can have at their school, air purification programs at school. This picture, the kid created his own aquaponics system using just kind of like reusable water bottles and pipes. And so normally we would have these student innovation sessions in person, and MetLife employees would serve as the judges and give people feedback and pick winners on these student innovation challenges. Of course, we could not have them in person this year, so we shifted it all to virtual. And it was really engaging, and the students really loved it and really thrived. It really impressed us all on how well they were able to present on Zoom in April. So they, not months and months into the pandemic, but only a couple months. For Earth Day, we had so many things planned for on-site. Usually our employees, especially our green teams, will do on-site documentary screenings, they'll bring in speakers, we'll do vendor fairs. So they had all this stuff planned, and then we were all virtual and we had to shift really quickly. So we did a whole week of webinars where we brought in, experts to talk about various environmental topics. We did quizzes and campaigns. We did a lot of tips, and it was all just kind of a virtual shift that ended up being very successful. And then even with some of our employee volunteerism, we have a whole, back to office plan and all sorts of legal teams and eyes on how to best get employees safely back into the office. But in areas where it was safe to do so, following CDC guidelines and local regulations, we did still have some in-person volunteering, smaller groups, masks enforced, social distancing, but some people were still able to get together in person and, do things like cleanups in their community. Of course, we leveraged a lot of our tools in digital engagement. We used things like SurveyMonkey as well as other tools that we have internally to do various quizzes for employees and give them raffle prizes for getting questions correct. We used our social media channels to encourage people to participate in various campaigns throughout the year. We did a plastic-free campaign in July. Just in October, we did an energy reduction campaign. And we also kind of featured other partners, like you'll see on the screen. Rutgers University was having some webinars focused on environment. We highlighted that. We worked with our friends at the Arbor Day Foundation to send employees, select groups of employees that were really engaged in these programs, trees to plant in their backyards. So rather than going out to a volunteer event to plant trees, we actually shipped employees trees, working with local nurseries so that we weren't contributing too much to transportation emissions and things like that. And like I mentioned before, we did a whole lot of webinars and other virtual engagements to kind of make up for the lost in-person activities that we might have normally. And then just this October, we did some fun things for Energy Action, similarly kind of leveraging partners in the space. At many of our offices, we would bring in groups to do energy fairs where they would offer discounted LED light bulbs and power strips and other energy efficiency type technologies at really discounted rates. And our partners were able to ship this virtually. So employees could actually just go out onto an online website and order LED light bulbs for $10. And so through that campaign, we were really able to incentivize employees that were taking advantage of being at home to do, home improvement projects, to really, go green when they're doing those home improvement projects. And then every year that we do this annual EcoChallenge, this is our employee competition. It's team-based. Groups of like 15 employees will get together, and we encourage these employees to go through a number of categories and choose actions that they're going to take for this 2 to 3 week period. These range from simple to complex actions, things like using a reusable water bottle, to riding your bike on errands rather than taking a car, eating more organic foods, composting. There's a lot of actions to choose from. And every day they log in, check those actions that they've completed, and those actions are each estimated to have, a positive correlation for the environment, and all that adds up in real time. So this was as of yesterday. We're actually, our numbers are looking even better right now, but as of yesterday, we had over 1,000 employees involved, from 28 different MetLife countries, and we'd, through this challenge, had saved almost 60,000 gallons of water, spent over 50,000 minutes outside. I think saved something like 5,000 plastic water bottles from being used, and the metrics are really cool. And our employees really get inspired through this challenge. They post updates, they post pictures of what they're doing. And this year, it was kind of especially fun because of the virtual component. It was always something that could be done fully virtual, but a lot of our employees were interacting in person, doing their challenges together in person. But this year, since it was virtual, it was really a good reconnector for employees, kind of to reconnect with their teams, and even get their families and their kids involved in some of their eco challenges. So that's a lot of what we're doing, how we're adapting. But what's next? There's always more that we can be doing in this space, and we really want to push the mark and push the ball. We already partner a lot with our colleagues in our kind of wellness groups, our diversity and inclusion groups, but we want to do more in that space, because like I said, climate and environment really does intersect with a lot of other issues. So we're going to be incorporating a lot more, wellness and mental health related topics into our employee engagement around sustainability moving forward. We also want to really make the connection between environmental justice and human rights. Right now, we're working on a discussion course that's actually focused on environmental justice. And we're going to have small groups of employees come together in almost like a lean-in circle kind of network, where they'll read articles focused on these topics and come together each week to discuss. And we really want to create that culture of inclusion where people can talk about these things in a safe space at work with colleagues. And then, like I said, with our new environmental goals, we're really focused on reaching a larger stakeholder group. So not just focusing, like I said, we already do a lot with customers and suppliers. So how can we bring the success from our employee engagement programs and bring that to those other stakeholders? So we're looking at ways to replicate some of the programs that we've done internally and bring them externally. So that's really what I have for today. There's a lot more I could talk about, but hopefully this leaves you all with a little bit of hope that a lot of companies are still putting a lot of attention towards sustainability and climate issues. And if anything, I think some of these are more important than ever. And it's really a way to intersect some of the issues that are happening around the world, and actually get people excited and passionate to work for your company, while actually making a difference. So hopefully this is a little bit of a hopeful end for your night on what corporates can be doing in this space.